In this video, we have got a 100 plus kill game with a TR-7 assault rifle on Iberian Offensive Conquest. In just a moment, I'm going to get into the pros and cons of this gun, how to play with the gun generally, how to play on Iberian Offensive generally, and then we'll conclude the video. If you want to see the attachments which I've got and are using on the gun in this video, please check the pinned top comment, but without further ado, let's get into the pros and cons. So when it comes to the pros of the TR-7, there are not many, but the two main standout pros of the TR-7, firstly is going to be its very high damage, which is one of the highest damage you can get on any guns in Battlefield 6, coming in at a value of 33, and this is paired with its second pro of having hardly any damage drop off, so it's consistently going to be 3 to 4 bullets to kill at most ranges, of course providing you can stay accurate and hit your shots. And that is pretty much where the pros of this gun ends, which is surprising considering this is one of the best guns in the game. If you did want to consider other factors, such as the reload time, which is around 2 seconds, but can be quickened up to 1.9 seconds if you use the mag catch attachment, it isn't significantly faster, and is kind of an average or standard reload time in the assault class. And if you also wanted to talk about the rate of fire, which comes in at around 740 rounds per minute, this is also not the fastest in this class of the assault rifles. This still is the K433 and the Cord, which comes in with around 850 to 900 rounds per minute. So a very standard or average rate of fire as well. Considering the first cons of the TR-7 in terms of the precision and the control with the current build which I have of this gun, although make note that no matter what attachments you've got, the stats generally are going to be around the same values. The precision comes in at a low value of 18 as well as control at 33. In comparison to other assault rifles in the game which come in with a base value of around 30 to 50, this is therefore extremely low. As a result of these stats, and as you can see in many of these clips, this is because this gun has a very high recoil, as well as, at the moment, a very high bloom. And ultimately, this makes this gun more of an SMG or a carbine than an assault rifle. Of course, the only main benefit you've got here with this gun over any of the SMGs or the carbines is its damage and minimal damage drop off at range. So you can be successful with it at range if you tap fire or put it into semi-auto mode, but because of that big bloom and that high recoil, it can still be really difficult to benefit from that minimal damage drop off because of the high bloom and high recoil. Lastly, and probably the most significant con of the TR-7 is going to be its magazine capacity, coming in at a base value of 20 rounds when first used and unlocked. And if you do decide to increase this gun to its maximum ammo capacity, this maximum is only going to be a maximum of 30 rounds, which is still quite low. And to increase to 30 rounds, this is also going to come at a total cost of 40 points out of your total of 100 points which you can use for attachments. So therefore, this is not very good in comparison to the other assault rifles which you can get in this game, which all generally come in with a standard or base magazine size of 30 rounds, and can also be increased to 30 to 40 or 50 rounds simply with a cost of an extra 10 to 20 points, not 40 points in the case here with the TR-7. Ultimately, if you do want to increase the mag size here to 30 at a cost of 40 points, then you're going to have to sacrifice something else, whether that's a lower value grip, for example, which is only going to make the recoil and the bloom even worse. Moving on now to talking about how you want to be using and playing with this gun, as well as what maps you want to be using this gun on generally. We'll start off by talking about the maps. So in terms of the maps, because this gun is meant pretty much for close range only, you want to stick to the close range maps on Battlefield 6, which of course is going to be your Siege of Cairo, your Empire State, your Iberian Offensive, as your probably first and 3 main maps. And even though this gun has hardly any damage drop off and therefore can still maintain a very good bullets to kill value at long distances, I would not recommend using it on larger maps, even such as Manhattan Conquest, because you're going to have a hard time maintaining that high accuracy. And in terms of how to use this gun, I would compare it to the KV-9 SMG, although both are slightly different. The KV-9 of course has much less recoil with a much faster fire rate, But with the KB9, you're still very lucky to get more than 1 kill per magazine, because again, you've got very low ammo capacity there of 18 to 27 rounds. And in a similar way here with the TR-7, you've got 20 to 30 rounds, but you've got a much larger bloom and recoil, and so again, you can more consistently get 2 kills with the gun, but in a similar vein, you are also struggling to try and get more than 2 kills and to consistently get 3 kills per magazine. Therefore, when using this gun, you do need to be quick when you're moving around, and you need to be good with cover rotation and with ammo management. Don't reload if you still have 10 rounds in the gun and you think there's going to be an enemy, close by or coming around the corner, because the majority of your deaths with this gun, like the KB9, are going to be when you're reloading. As well, when I talk about cover rotation, whenever you are going for a reload, make sure you're darting into and of course running to whatever point of cover you can to get yourself behind cover for those 2 seconds of that reload. So even if an enemy does come out from around the corner and starts to engage you, you can at least be safe behind cover before popping out of cover into a fair one-on-one gunfight where you can both start shooting at each other at the same time. But ultimately, if you use this gun like an SMG, you run and gun with it, you stick to the close range maps, it will be one of your best close range options, even better than any of the SMGs, simply because of its very large damage, paired with its still decently high rate of fire, makes it have one of the fastest time to kills in the game. So as long as you can be accurate and you play with it at close range so that you make sure you increase that accuracy, you will do really well with it and as good as you can versus any of the other close range guns in the game. And now for the final section of this video, where I talk generally about what you want to be doing on Iberian Offensive Conquest to do well when you're playing with these close range weapons, and of course to find the most amount of people that you can. Pretty much in and around the center of the map, where all the close range 2-story buildings are, is going to be the best place that you can actually go and stay when running around the map. C flag is going to be the best place on the map, where there's always going to be a good number of enemies or teammates that are flowing through that part of the map. And simply just staying at C flag for the entirety of the game would probably be enough to net you the top score for kills in the game, and of course even top score possibly if you get enough defensive and attacking points for getting kills while on the flag. If you do find that for 30 seconds C flag gets very quiet, then B flag is also going to be your likely next best place to go for enemies, of which the route to get from C to B is all through buildings and very close range. So any enemies which you encounter on the path and the route while running to B flag from C flag, as well as even vice versa, running the other way from B to C, is always going to put you in a good place to win gunfights, because you're always at close range. One place I would definitely not recommend to go is out in the open here at the top of the stairs. It's effectively no man's land. You always have a tank pretty much camping there on the resupply point, because it's the largest, most open area of the map where the tank can feel safe, keeping a good distance of vision to any people who can try and creep up on the tank. So generally that's not a good place to go if you've got a tank, but also it's not a good place to go if you've got a gun which is only good at close range and will get outgunned by the people who are going to this area of the map with their medium to long range guns that they're using, because of course that's the place they want to go on the map so that they can have the advantage in the gunfights. So try your best, if you know that this area of the map is populated with people, to try and stay away from it. The best thing you can do is stay in and around C flag and just tap fire or change to semi-auto mode to try and get slightly longer range kills, even if it's more difficult, because you will stay alive longer. And lastly, in terms of the other flags on this map, D flag is a quite open area with a lot of buildings and high ground surrounding it. So if you are using a close range gun, it can be very tricky or difficult to get on that flag and to actually run around. The best thing you can do is stay on the high ground around the flag, and again, even if you've got a close range gun, tap fire or change to semi-auto mode and avoid running out in the open. Once you are finished there with that flag as well, because you haven't gone onto the flag, you've got a shorter distance and time therefore to run back to the center of the map where the majority of the action is going to be. So again, save yourself the time there running. Similarly with E flag, that is also another very open flag, and of course you can get to that flag or to the edge of that flag by going through close quarters areas, but it's also generally a flag which you get to through that no man's land area at the top of the map. So probably E flag is one of the flags I would say to completely avoid if you're playing very close range weapons, and only go to that flag if pretty much all the other flags are capped, and that is the only place on the map where you're going to find people. A flag is the final flag which I've not talked about, and I'd say A flag is the third best flag if you are playing close range that you can go to other than B and C, because you can run through all these different buildings that are behind me and to the right here to actually go through close quarters areas to get to A flag. A flag does have a good amount of cover. It is still quite open, so it can be a little bit tricky, but it's definitely a lot better and a lot easier to get on and run around the flag compared to D and E. But yeah, that pretty much concludes this 100 game on the TR-7. If you have found anything useful that I've said, please smash a like for me, and I will see you on the next one.